Okay, so if you are a registered gun owner, I want you to gather around. Come hither, let's chat. There is a common mistake that I see a lot of lawfully registered gun owners make, and I want you to avoid this mistake because if you're not paying attention right now, this could cost you a felony. All right, and the mistake that I see a lot of lawfully registered gun owners make is that they think that registering their firearm in one state gives them the license or the ability to take that firearm anywhere that they please, including to other states, just because they have a registration certificate for the firearm or a concealed carry permit for the firearm. And that is not the case. If you do that, it could land you a felony. And of course, if you have a felony on your record, that would likely prohibit you from passing the background check. That would allow you to keep that firearm. So, couple of things that I want you to pay attention to. It's really important for you to understand what it means and what the law allows for purposes of transporting your lawfully registered firearm to another state. A lot of gun owners don't really know how to transport their firearm from one state to another. So what I'm going to do is explain what that entire process entails. So the first thing that you need to know about transporting a firearm is that you have to lawfully possess it in the state that the firearm currently is in, and you also have to lawfully possess the firearm in the state that you are taking it to. And so that means that if there is any kind of registration requirements for the firearm in the state that it currently is in to the state that you want to take it to, you have to follow those laws in both states. You can't just lawfully possess it in your current state and then think that you can just take it wherever you want. It doesn't work that way. You will land yourself a potential felony. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing that you have to understand is that when you're transporting a firearm, the firearm should always be unloaded. There's no reason for it to be loaded with ammunition or anything in the chamber. So make sure that firearm is unloaded. Now, the third thing that you need to understand is that the gun and the ammunition for the firearm should not be readily accessible in the passenger compartment. And specifically when I'm talking about passenger compartment, I mean the area where anybody can sit. Some people think that the passenger compartment, for whatever reason, is just where the passenger sits and not where the driver sits. You can't have the firearm underneath the driver's seat, right? And so the firearm cannot be anywhere in the passenger compartment. What does that mean? Well, essentially it means that you have to put it in the trunk, right? And so if your vehicle has a trunk, that is probably where you want to put it. And usually, to be on the safe side, both the firearm and the ammunition should not be in the passenger compartment. So that means if the firearm is in the trunk, it still has to be unloaded, and the ammunition should probably be in a separate area from the actual firearm itself. Now, the other thing that can vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction and state to state is this concept of having the firearm in a locked container. Some states require it. Federal laws don't necessarily require it unless you don't have a compartment that is separate from the passenger compartment. So that means unless you don't have a trunk. In those particular instances, federal laws usually require that the firearm is in a separate locked container. Now, just to be on the safe side, it doesn't hurt to have the firearm in a locked container. It's better to be safe than to be sorry. You don't know who could break into your car and access it. So it's really important to make sure that you understand those steps. And the final thing that I'll mention is that the firearm should probably never be in the glove compartment or the center console. Those are still areas that are kind of within the passenger compartment, and it's likely that you'll be in violation of gun transportation laws if the firearm is in the glove compartment or the center console. Now, here's the thing that I don't see a lot of people do. If you are traveling within multiple states from one destination to another, it would be a really good idea just to see what the laws are in each state that you're traveling through. I know it may seem tedious, especially if you're going on a long trip or a long journey. In some places, if you're just traveling through that state and you're just transporting the firearm from one state to another, you may not be able to stop. And so just understanding what the gun laws are in general for all the states that you're going to be traveling through is probably going to be extremely helpful for you. Because at the end of the day, it really only takes you about 10-15 minutes to look these things up. And the cost of just simply looking up the gun carrying laws wherever you may travel is a lot less costly than what it's going to take to hire an attorney to fight a felony gun charge, especially when you're already lawfully registered to carry in another state. And so I just see this mistake happen with a lot of lawfully registered gun owners. And if you are diligent enough to be able to pass a background check and have no criminal record, I think it's really important to maintain that diligence and make sure that you're complying with all laws so that you don't get caught up getting an unnecessary felony for something that could easily be prevented. Also keep in mind that with respect to concealed carry permits, you want to make sure that you have that permit in each state that you're traveling through if your intention is not just to transport the firearm, but to carry it on your body or your person in a concealed manner, or carry it concealed in a vehicle. So that's an exception that you want to be aware of, but always make sure that you know the law. Ignorance of the law is never going to be an excuse in defending yourself in court. So I hope that information is helpful to you. If you have a lawfully registered firearm, or you know someone who intends to purchase a firearm, it's really important that they know this information so that they don't catch an unnecessary charge that could have easily been prevented. So take care, and I'll see you next time.